When I first moved to Maple Creek Estates, I was just looking for peace and quiet. The neighborhood had beautiful homes, well-kept lawns, and a scenic lake that sat just beyond the property line. I didn't know much about the homeowners association, only that the residents often whispered about one woman who practically ran it like a dictatorship. Her name was Barbara, but everyone knew her as Karen. She was the HOA president, self-appointed for life, and she loved enforcing rules like she was guarding national security. I rented a small house at first, nothing fancy. I kept to myself, paid my dues, and didn't get involved. But every week, there she was, knocking on some poor neighbor's door about mailbox color, trash bin placement, lawn height, even the angle someone parked their car. She lived directly across from the lake, claiming it as if she owned it. She didn't. In fact, the lake had been privately owned by the original developer and was never actually transferred to the HOA. Nobody knew that except me. I'm a land surveyor. And one afternoon, while reviewing county records for work, I stumbled across something interesting. The lake was for sale. Not advertised, not listed publicly, just quietly sitting in a municipal auction database because of an unpaid tax dispute. And the asking price? Shockingly affordable. Less than a used car. The next morning, I bought it. When the paperwork cleared, the county sent me the official deed. I now own the lake. The entire lake. Not the HOA. Not Karen. Me. I waited for the right moment to reveal it. And that moment arrived quicker than expected. 2 days later, while I was enjoying a coffee near the shore, Karen marched up to me with her usual clipboard. "You can't be here," she snapped. "The lake is HOA property." I smiled. "Actually, it's not. I own it now." She laughed like I told the funniest joke in the world. Then I showed her the deed. Her face drained of color so fast I thought she might faint. You can't do that," she stuttered. "We use this lake. We have rights." "No," I replied calmly. "Your HOA has assumptions. I have ownership." From that moment, the neighborhood dynamic changed. Karen didn't just dislike me. She saw me as a threat to her control. And I had no idea how far she would go to try to reclaim what she believed was hers. But once she declared war, I was more than ready to finish it. The news traveled through the neighborhood faster than gossip at a family wedding. By the next morning, everyone knew I owned the lake. Some neighbors congratulated me quietly, others seemed confused, but Karen? She reacted like I had personally stolen the crown jewels from her private vault. She showed up at my house at 7:13 a.m. sharp. No knock, just pounding. The kind of pounding that says, "I don't think you're a human being with rights. I think you're a problem to be fixed." I opened the door holding my coffee. She stepped forward like she owned my porch. "We need to talk," she snapped. "I'm listening," I replied. "We, the HOA, demand access to the lake. We have annual events there. Community gatherings, kayaking, fishing. We host the 4th of July picnic there every year. You can't just take that away." I shrugged. I didn't take anything. It was never yours to begin with. That sentence triggered something in her brain. You could see it. The reality that her imaginary power didn't line up with the legal world hit her like a car crash. She tried a new angle. "We'll simply add a clause to the HOA charter claiming ownership." "You can't claim what you don't own," I said. "You'd need a property deed." She glared. "We'll fight you in court." I smiled. "Go ahead. You'll lose." That was the moment she realized I wasn't intimidated. And she hated that. From that day forward, Karen ramped things up. She mailed me printed notices demanding I allow HOA-approved access. She left voicemails claiming I was endangering the community. She even tried to fine me for restricting access to the lake. Think about that. She tried to fine me for something I legally owned. I ignored all of it. Then she went nuclear. One afternoon, I returned home to find several HOA members, at least 8 of them, out behind my house on the lakefront. They had set up chairs and were fishing in my lake like everything was normal. Karen stood among them, arms crossed, smirking like she had just won a chess match. I approached calmly. "Everyone, you need to leave." She raised her voice so the group could hear. "You can't stop us. This lake is community property." I pulled out my phone and pressed record. "All right," I said. "I just want everyone to know that you're trespassing, and I will be calling law enforcement." The mood shifted instantly. Karen scoffed, but her voice cracked. "You wouldn't dare." "Yes," I said. "I would." And I did. The police arrived within 15 minutes. What happened next changed everything. When the officers arrived, the HOA group tried to scatter like pigeons, but Karen planted herself in place, arms crossed and chin lifted. She truly believed she was untouchable. One of the officers approached me first, calm and professional, and asked what was going on. I explained that the group was trespassing on privately owned property, and I showed him the deed stored on my phone. He examined it, nodded, and then walked over to Karen. "Ma'am, he owns the lake. You and your group need to leave," he said politely. Karen let out a sharp laugh. "No, you don't understand. I'm the HOA president. This lake is a community asset. We have used it for years. It's tradition." The officer didn't flinch. Tradition does not override property law. I swear. You could practically hear the cartoon sound effect of her ego snapping in half. She tried arguing, threatening, even guilt-tripping. But eventually, the officers had to escort her and the others off the property. They didn't arrest anyone that day, but they definitely left the group embarrassed and shaken. And that's when I realized something important. If she was bold enough to trespass in broad daylight, she was not going to stop. She believed access to the lake was her right, regardless of legal ownership. So I had two choices. 1. Constantly fight her. 2. Prevent her from accessing the lake at all. I chose the second option. I hired a surveyor, not because I needed to know the property lines, I already did, but because I wanted official documentation to support the next move. When the survey report came back, I found something very interesting. Karen's backyard extended 12 feet on a lakefront property she did not own. The HOA had been using land that did not belong to them for years, mowing it, decorating it, even hosting events on it. They had assumed because their houses bordered the lake, the land did too. They were wrong. Very, very wrong. So, I filed a simple county notice and obtained approval to build a privacy fence along the true property line, not across her yard entirely, just enough to block her precious private backyard lake access. The day the construction crew arrived, Karen stormed out like a tornado wearing flip-flops. "What is this? You can't build here. This is my backyard." I held up a copy of the survey. "Actually, this is my property. You've been using it without permission for years." Neighbors gathered. People were filming. Whispers spread like wildfire. Karen's face turned red. Deep, boiling red. "You're making a mistake," she hissed. "No," I said. "I'm fixing one." And the fence posts went into the ground. One by one. It took 3 full days for the fence to be completed. Each morning, the contractors showed up, measured twice, and continued installing the wooden panels along the precise surveyed property line. And each day, Karen came out screaming. Not talking, screaming. She tried every tactic in her arsenal. Threats. "I'll have you removed from this neighborhood." Emotional manipulation. "You're destroying the community's spirit." Fake legal jargon. "This violates subsection HOA, whatever nonsense. Code 19 Alpha." None of it worked. By the second day, neighbors had begun gathering with lawn chairs. Some even brought snacks. It was like a live reality show titled Karen versus Reality. She had spent years intimidating people. Now, they were quietly enjoying seeing her finally face consequences. On day 3, the fence reached the part where her prized backyard patio sat. For years, she had walked straight from her sliding glass door to the lake, acting like it was her private waterfront retreat. But once the final section of fence went up, that pathway ended in a clean, solid wall of wood. She snapped. She ran to the fence, banged on it with both fists, and let out a scream that echoed across the water. "You can't do this. You can't take my lake. I own this view. This is my community. My rules. My lake." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I simply responded with the truth, the same truth she had refused to accept. "You never owned it. You just acted like you did." That was the moment everything changed. The HOA board, the very board she controlled for years, held an emergency meeting. Dozens of residents attended. The vote was unanimous. Karen was removed as HOA president. Multiple neighbors gave testimonies about her bullying, her threats, her fines, and her abuses of authority. Some even apologized to me, embarrassed they hadn't stood up to her sooner. When the vote concluded, she stood there silent, gripping her clipboard like it was an anchor stopping her from drowning. For the first time, she didn't look angry. She looked small. Afterward, the new HOA board approached me respectfully. They asked if the community could request permission to use the lake occasionally for holidays. No ownership claims, no demands. Just simple permission. And I gave it to them. Not because I needed their approval, but because coexistence is easier when control is not part of the equation. As for Karen, she sold her house 2 months later. Apparently, she couldn't stand living in a place where she wasn't in charge. I still own the lake. I still have my fence. And the neighborhood is more peaceful than ever.